Hello, LinkedIn friends. Thank you so much for joining Game On Level Up Your Challenge for your career strategy. So excited to be here with you today. My name is Caitlin Johnson, and I am Master Certified Performance Coach with over 15 years of experience. Coached over 70,000 global leaders on how to achieve epic results using gamification strategies. So today is day one. We're kicking off. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I know we have people across the globe joining today. And day one challenge today, we're going to talk about building out a career map using purpose mapping. So before we get into all of that, just a couple housekeeping tips. You see the chat. We encourage you to engage, ask your questions, be involved today. This is for you. And then 2 lucky participants will be winning a prize at the end, so be sure to stick around. Throughout today, there is also a worksheet that you can download. There's 2 of them. There's one that you can use for all 5 days, and that was sent out in an email reminder. And I'll have Olivia, my community manager, post a QR code up here in a few minutes where you can download that worksheet. It's okay if you download it later. You can still follow along. And then our presenters today also have a worksheet for you as they go through purpose mapping. So with that, I'd like to go ahead and introduce my 2 special guests, Jim Huling and Sarah Tendler. And we'll have them come up on the screen and say hello. Jim is a #1 worldwide best-selling author of the 4 Disciplines of Execution. He is an executive coach and founder of Choose Your Life and has served as CEO of an organization recognized 4 times as one of the 25 best companies to work for in America. And he's joined by Sarah Tendler, who is co-founder and CEO of Choose Your Life, as well as a Gallup certified strengths coach. So welcome, Jim and Sarah. Come on screen. Olivia will bring you on board. Hello, hello. Hey, Sarah. Hi, Jim.
Hi, good morning. Yeah, Caitlin, what an exciting day. Thank you. And thanks for if this was baseball, we're the leadoff hitters. And what you always want the leadoff hitters to do is to hit the ball out of the park. So we hope we're going to do that. I am really honored today to be here and to be part of this very special event with my dear friend, Caitlin Johnson. I'm also incredibly honored and excited to be here with my partner, Sarah Tendler, who you see on the screen right there. We together form our company called Choose Your Life. We are in the business of executive coaching, as well as providing products and courses that help everybody find and execute on the life they feel they were meant to live. So a great pleasure to be here. Caitlin, we also wanted to play you a compliment. Not only have you crafted an incredible event that I see people are pouring in now that the doors are open. It's a little bit like a Bon Jovi concert already. Here they all come. But thanks for hosting an event like this. I think there's never been a time when we needed an event like this more than we really do now. And frankly, anybody who's looking to level up in their life, the next few days are going to give you all the tools necessary to do it. Last of all, Sarah and I were talking about what a perfect choice it was to start with the topic of purpose. Purpose is really the cornerstone of everything we do. In fact, to give you a little bit of a historical reference, since ancient times, anytime human beings were trying to build something, the very first step in the process was to set what they called a cornerstone, right? A stone that would carry the greatest amount of weight, that would be the focal point for the whole structure, and also the reference point for everything else that was done. So, Caitlin, I hope you like this idea. We think the idea of a cornerstone is a powerful image anytime you're talking about purpose, because it really is. You go on from there to have a vision and your values and your strategy and your goals and your ability to execute. In other words, everybody today is going to be building a massive life and career structure. But what we want to help you do today is make sure that most important beginning point, that cornerstone, is set correctly for everything that you're planning to lay on top of it. So thanks for letting us start with that today.
Absolutely. And I'm so excited because it just ties in so great with one of the first core components of gamification design, which is, the design strategists look at what has epic meaning and a reason, a calling. If you think about it, almost like your why. That's how a game designer starts off in building a really amazing game. You have to have a desire to play. And so when we tie that into the game of life, Jim, and building that cornerstone, we need to understand where we're going and be very intentional with that. And so I love that you and Sarah have this purpose map that you can talk through with everybody so that we can really identify that reason for playing and inspire ourselves to continue to move forward within our career. So with that, I'm eager to know what's on this map.
Awesome. Thank you. And we'll just need to put the visual right up on the screen where everybody can see it, Caitlin, and then make sure that it's in clear view. Ladies and gentlemen, while we're putting that visual up on the screen, Sarah and I would like everybody to know we're going to try to give you as much content as we can in the space of time that we have. So we ask your patience and indulgence if we go a little quickly. But the good news about quickly is that everything we're going to say is in the handout. So we want to be sure, you'll see in a moment over in the chat box an opportunity to download this handout. Every single thing that Sarah and I are going to share today is in that handout. In fact, if you download the handout, you don't need to take any notes, which is like my favorite discovery in every presentation. No note taking is needed unless it's something special. Download that handout. You'll have every single thing we're going to show you today. Okay, so as we get started, we're talking about this idea that the cornerstone, which, by the way, you see a nice visual right there on the screen, is that foundational piece that holds all the weight. And Caitlin, I'm advancing my slides, but I don't see them advancing on the main screen. So I don't know if Olivia can help us with that. I should be on the second. There we go. Awesome. Our whole process is pretty unique. It's built around 4 powerful questions. Now, we won't spend a lot of time right here going through each question because we're going to show you how each of those questions works and how they come together in what we feel is the only process of its type that actually uses mapping rather than just words to help you come up with a sense of your own driving purpose in life that will be the most powerful for you. So with that, Sarah, we'll just go right over to the map itself.
Yeah, absolutely. And, the purpose for this exercise is to keep from things feeling so overwhelming. When we talk about purpose, when we talk about, what was I born to do? What am I really called to do? That feels heavy, right? That feels like Mount Everest that we're trying to climb. So this process that we created really helps you break that down into more small, manageable pieces that you can do a little bit of, set down for a while, come back to. And really just take piece by piece in order to have it not feel quite so overwhelming. We want you to really consider each quadrant as well. So it's easy to kind of fly through this exercise, but you probably won't get as much value out of it that way. Really take time, really reflect, and go deep in each quadrant. And through that process, through being able to pull all 4 quadrants together, the end result for you is going to be more clarity. So that's what we're hoping to achieve with this exercise. So if we want to move on, we'll just take a brief moment. I know we're going to move fast, so please feel free, download your own worksheet. You're going to want to spend some time on this. But in order to keep it rolling, we're going to hit 2 of the first quadrants right now. So quadrant number 1, when have you felt purposeful? So this is someone's personal example, but for me, some of these might include helping others to see in themselves what they couldn't see previously. So a few things that might look like for me personally would be helping people pull out patterns in best moments that they've had so far in their career, uncovering innate talents, and really strategizing an action plan. Okay, I have all this information. I feel really good about what my strengths are. What can I do with all of this information now? How can I put this into action to really help myself find the job that I want, a job that feels the most fulfilling to me? So those would be a few that would be in my personal first quadrant. Moving on to the next one, who do you serve? This one's really powerful. In my words, this is who do you want to help the most? So for me personally, this might look like any professionals who are trying to gain clarity. This could be people starting out in their careers, people who've had a few jobs but haven't really found anything they've loved so far, even people feeling burned out and who just really long to feel energized again. So those would be people in my second quadrant. And that's one I want you to really spend some time on, really visualize the people that you aspire to help.
Sarah, I'll take the third one if I can. And as we put this one up, just a quick reminder, everybody. First of all, everything we're showing you is in the handout, so just download it. Yeah. You're probably already saying, wait, we're going so fast, and some of these ideas are really important. So take a deep breath. Nothing's been lost. Everything we've said so far is in the handout. But what we hope you're beginning to see is an approach to this question, what is my purpose, that you've probably never seen anybody do in quite this way, where by completing the map, and the literal blank map is in your handout, but the words on the screen are things like you would say, as you thought about, when have I felt purposeful? Those moments in your life, Caitlin, you and I have talked about this many times, when you lose all track of time, when you feel like, oh, I wish I did this as my job all day, maybe you do one thing to make a living, but you have a joy thing you do in the afternoons or the weekend, and you sort of wish the relationship between those two things could be reversed, and the joy thing could be your main job. Well, this is the kind of mapping process that helps you discover that. And maybe last of all, if you don't mind me throwing one more comment in, Dr. Covey used to always say, the saddest moment in any person's life is when they spend their entire life climbing a ladder, only to realize at the top that the ladder was leaning against the wrong wall. Well, that's the value of purpose mapping, right? Purpose mapping helps you, no matter where you are in your career, begin to say, this is really what I was born to do. So I hope you're getting that. And with those couple of seconds brought you there to figure out where you are, let's do the third quadrant, which is, what do you offer? Now, in the third quadrant, you're brainstorming ideas, and you notice the words on the screen are all different, as though they were written on different days, as though, as Sarah said, maybe you put this to the side for a moment and then you came back to it a week later. It's quick to explain this process. It takes a while to do it well. And remember, you're not after speed, you're after depth in this. So thinking about what do you offer, you think about all the things that with your strengths, with your talents, with your experience, with your education, what are things you could offer that would be valuable in the world? And as you notice, this person whose map we're actually using today was leaning toward the teaching, coaching profession anyway, you can see from some of those examples. But as he began to work with the map, he started to realize that there were a lot of things he could offer, not just one thing, which is what he'd been thinking about, but lots and lots of variety with that. So looking at quadrant three is, what could I offer, implied that the world might find value. And then last of all, what I like to call the legacy quadrant is, what impact do you want to have? Most of us are pretty familiar with Steve Jobs quotes. And one of my favorite ones is to live your life in such a way that you make a dent in the universe, meaning that when you're all finished, when things are all done, you're working, or your purpose part of your life is over, you can look back and say, here are the things I did that made a difference, that had an impact. In a sense, we're trying to do things that will outlast us. And that's the beauty of the purpose map. And all that comes together in this fourth quadrant. What impact do you have? So you look at some of those examples. I want to enable other people to know their purpose. I want to help people choose the life they were born to live. Things like that would be the things you would look back on at the end of your career and say, wow, I'm so glad I did that. It made a real difference. But in order to have that impact, you got to get clear now about what that purpose is and how you're going to be able to do it. So when you finish the purpose map, and by the way, we just crammed into about 4 minutes what can take about 4 weeks to thoughtfully complete, right? Not overwhelming, but little bits at a time. This is what it looks like when you're finished. But I don't want this to be overwhelming. In fact, I'd like for you to be able to take a big, deep breath right now. We don't have to work with everything that's on the map. What we're going to work with are the pieces that stand out. Sarah, anything you want to add right at this point?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, Connie, I love your comment that it's not after speed, but depth. And it, just like we're saying, we're moving fast today, but this really is somewhere where you can think about what impact you want to have. This is a big question. Who do you want to help? That's a big question. So really take your time and slow down on all 4 of those quadrants before you go any farther. Do all 4 of the quadrants, and then at a later time, revisit it. I know it looks like a lot on the screen right now, but it won't in just a moment.
Yeah, and Sarah, I don't know if you noticed over on the side, but Connie has got some great examples there of things that are things she can offer. I think, Connie, I think that's how you're posting those. And wow, those look like life-changing things you can offer. So honestly, what Connie's done, that's the kind of feeling you should have. When you look at your purpose map, you should start to get a little bit excited. In fact, I'm kind of excited right now just thinking about you doing your purpose map, because when you're looking at it, most of the time people start to feel like light bulbs are just going off. I could do this, I could do that. Wouldn't it be great to do this? I'd love to be remembered for having done that. What an impact my life could have. And I'm not giving you an energy commercial, but I will just say, if you contrast that to the average person who has to have 8 cups of coffee just to commute to the office or log in the morning, what a difference it makes, not only in the work you do, but in the quality of your life, how you feel about what you did with the time and the energy and the talents that you had. Okay, so picking right up where we are, that might look a little bit overwhelming, but what we start to do is find the things that stand out. So for example, in the serving quadrant, the humility quadrant, we like to call it. So it's not all about you or me. It's about what difference are we making. The person highlighted, I want to serve people who want to take their work and their lives to another level. What a powerful focus, not just anybody and not just everybody, but people who really want to go to another level. And then when it came to time to when did they feel purposeful? Well, gosh, their moment when they lost track of time was when they were creating and offering these kinds of programs. And then we connect that to, well, what could I offer that might enable me to do that very same thing? And for this person who's really one of our clients, a process for creating a great life. By the way, that process exists today. This person has a course right out available through social media today that helps people make those choices. And then last of all, what lasting legacy, what impact do you want to leave? So do you notice how what seemed really complicated for a minute kind of got simple when we drew circles around the parts that stood out? And then we began to connect those pieces that had been circled into a statement of what our purpose really is, something that we could remember and we could repeat and we could use to communicate with other people about what we're doing with our lives. So we got those parts connected, and then we do just a little bit of wordsmithing. And here's the actual purpose statement that this client of ours ended up with. This person says, my purpose is to inspire and enable, so uplift and teach every individual to choose the life they were born to live by creating compelling programs and one-on-one coaching. Now, if you think about a person in the business like Caitlin and Sarah and I are, we coach and teach and hope to mentor and inspire everybody that we can have an impact on. But that's overwhelming by itself, isn't it? There's like 10,000 possibilities on how to do that. When you have a statement like this, do you notice how it narrows the focus of your life and almost sets the direction for exactly how you want to go forward? Sarah, you want to add anything into there?
Yeah, absolutely. Something I want to focus on for a moment is that your purpose will evolve over time. So like many of us at the height of the pandemic, I was reevaluating lots of my priorities. I was super burned out. I had been working 50, 60 plus hour weeks and really took a moment to reevaluate and reset my priorities. So as you do that throughout your lifetime, this purpose might evolve. It might look a little bit different. You might maintain the same essence of it, but you might dial certain things up and other things down along the way. So keep that in mind. This is a worksheet that you can revisit over time and make some edits to over the years, but also understand that takes a little bit of pressure off. This doesn't have to be the final version of your ultimate purpose that you hold on to. It's carved in stone forever. So just those two small things to mention as well.
Yeah, I love those 2 points. And if we zoom out just a little bit, we can make an even broader statement to say, remember, today we're talking about your purpose as it relates to your work, right? But no, without question, there are some parents listening to this broadcast who are thinking, well, wait a minute, what about my purpose as a parent? Or what about my purpose as a family member? Or what about my purpose in my community of faith or in the nonprofit or charitable work that I do? It actually turns out that very few people ever create a single statement that overarches their entire life. It's just almost impossible, especially if you have a life that has multiple dimensions to it. So think of this example today as getting you started in a place where people usually find the work to be the easiest. In my work, what is my purpose of my life? Now, it may be that bleeds over a little bit and influences the other things you do, but don't be hesitant at all to make a purpose statement for your life as a parent or a sibling or a teacher or a community member, whatever it might be, because the same principles, the same 4 quadrants will bring you to a new level of clarity, I promise, no matter what area of your life you're applying those to.
Absolutely. And I wanted to jump in too, Marty. We referenced that African proverb of, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. I love that you brought that up. It's something we talk about often. So I love even taking this one step farther and saying, okay, not only am I putting language to my own thoughts and feelings about my purpose, but who can I share this with? Who can I communicate this purpose with that might really appreciate having this understanding and this knowledge about me that may not have had this before? It could be colleagues, it could be family members, partners. You really could use this in so many different ways. So Marty, thank you for that comment. Love it.
Yeah, I love it, Marty. We've done some work in Africa, and we've actually met people who have heard this expression since they were children. It's embedded in their DNA, where for Sarah and I, it was a little bit new. I think we learned this a couple of years ago. But, I love what Sarah was saying as well, in that imagine it's your team at work. Imagine your team at work is searching for some sense of its purpose together that would unify a team, particularly in a time when there are lots and lots of issues being addressed in the workplace. Imagine how powerful that would be. And by the way, when we do that work, we don't do it top down. We don't ask the leaders to define a purpose and then everybody below them try to get in line with that purpose. We actually reverse that equation. We do this process bottom up so that each individual works on their own purpose for their own professional life. And then we integrate those various statements of purpose into what can really be said credibly is the purpose statement for an entire team. It's an incredibly powerful way of bringing a team together and giving them something that's not just handed down from the top, but instead has really come from the heart, from every single member of the team. And every person on the team can say, I was part of that statement. So therefore, I adopt it and I believe in it, and I'm going to work in my professional life to be true to it. Hey, Sarah, I see lots of comments going on. I think we must be touching all the right buttons today, helping everybody find their way in this, what can be such an esoteric exercise. In fact, you guys, Sarah and I laugh a lot when we see the approach to purpose, which is sort of like, think of what matters most to you and then write it down on paper. That's about the sum total of the advice that you get. And of course, I'm not being critical of anybody else's program, but I am just saying how hard. That's the hardest way of all. Whereas in our way, we combine the quadrants. So break it down into 4 quadrants first, and then look for connecting points between the quadrants so that at the end, making a single statement, it almost comes naturally after you've done all that work. Makes it one of the easiest processes that I think I've ever seen.
Yeah,
Jim,
absolutely.
Oh, yes. Sarah and Jim, if I may interject here for a minute, I just want to take a step back because as I'm digesting all of this information to think, I think at the end of the day, we all just want to matter and be able to help others. And we feel like that's our purpose. But we have to go one step further, which is what I believe the two of you have created and designed here, which is to give a definition to what that help looks like and what that value looks like to others. So it's pretty mind-blowing at this moment to think you can take something as, your reason and your why of wanting to be valuable and to help others and really narrow it down to a purpose statement using these 4 quadrants. It's brilliant.
That's so true. And, and that statement part might take quite a few rounds. Typically just taking the parts of the quadrants that resonate and crafting them into a statement, that's a great first draft, but it's probably not where you'll end up. It's usually long. It's a little too wordy. So really taking the time to go, like you said, one step farther and make it really clear really concise, and something that really matters to you. I love that, Caitlin.
Yeah, and Caitlin and Sarah, you're so right. And I'll give my own illustration of this. Two things I might be able to add to what you've said. One is everybody on this broadcast will one day probably be my age. I don't want to frighten you, but you get towards the last stage of your career and you really start asking yourself, have I made a difference? I've put in my thousands of hours every single year for 20, 30, 40 years. And I'm happy to have done it. And it was an honorable thing to do. And it enabled me to support my family. Everything about it's great. But I promise you're going to start to say, did it matter? Did I do something that made a difference? Is anything that I did still going to last, even after I'm finished doing it? These are going to become the questions of significance, not success. And it's the significance questions that ultimately reveal the greatest value of purpose mapping. And then I just have to make a quick comment. Patrick Green, he's so right. Teams need to come together now more than ever. And what a radical idea, quote unquote, sarcasm included in radical, that instead of the leader defining a purpose and asking a team to agree to it, you actually allow the team to first find their individual purpose and then integrate those together like threads in a fabric until you've got something that really represents your whole team. What a powerful way to go about the process.
Absolutely.
That right
That
there
was so well said.
Yeah, that is epic meaning. To think like you can wake up every morning and know that you're going to clock in because you're contributing to something powerful. I think it's twofold, right? From a personal level, understanding your epic meaning, your purpose, and then from an organizational, professional level as well. If you could tie that into the structure of your team, then wow, we'll really be able to make a huge, significant impact.
Yeah, those are game-changing moments, right? And Ron, I love what you said too. When someone asks what it is that you love to do, it can cause paralysis. And he loves this way of breaking it down and mapping it out. Thank you, Ron. That was our whole goal behind this exercise, because we've experienced that with many of our coaching clients, just starting to scratch the surface on having those conversations, and people, kind of lock up and go, oh my gosh, I don't have one, or I don't know. I used to think it was this. Now I have no idea anymore. So that was really the whole point of us creating this process, was to make it manageable, make it clear, and make it easy to follow, make it a pattern that's easy to follow. So thank you, Ron. Thanks for that comment.
What a great comment, Ron. And I'll promise you this, if you ever want to totally stop a conversation, just say to another person, what's the single greatest purpose of your life? Everything goes quiet then, right? And I'm only saying that humorously. Don't do that to anybody, please. But the reason it goes quiet is because most of us don't know. We know generally what our purpose is, but we don't know specifically what our purpose is. So it's sort of like not putting a specific address in your GPS system, just putting Northwest and driving and hoping you end up where you wanted to go, and none of us does that, by the way, right? Even if we have a love-hate relationship with our GPS systems, we still put in the exact precise address because we want to end up at the place we intended. Well, isn't that a pretty good metaphor for life? Don't all of us reach a point where we start to say, how can I make sure that I actually end up at the place that when I was younger or less experienced, I really dreamed of being? And how can I be sure that that's a choice I'm going to be happy with when I actually get there? Well, purpose mapping is really the answer to doing that across all of those areas. Okay, so I see that we had a bunch of questions. I hope we've addressed almost all of them. Caitlin, I know we're getting close to the end of the time we had allotted. You guys, if you have any questions for Sarah or me or Caitlin, we are all great friends and great partners, and we do very much the same kind of work out in the world. Please throw them up there. This is a great chance to get an answer to those. And Patrick, thank you so much for your great questions, buddy. It's great to see you here today.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll have Olivia put the link in the chat again one more time on how and where to download this worksheet for anyone that may have joined just a little bit past when we posted it before. So you can take this and continue to really dig deep on, where is it that you want to take your life? What does that epic meaning look like and feel like? What does that value look like for you? And give that time, due diligence to really invest in that. Jim and Sarah, did you have any other slides or concepts that you wanted to review today?
Well, thank you for asking us, Sarah. And I just wanted to quickly wrap up. Sometimes you can feel that you learned something, but Caitlin, I'm the kind of learner that at the end of the instructional part, I always say, can you give me an example? So that I have something to go by. And so Sarah and I captured several of the purpose statements that our clients have developed over the time we've been using this unique approach of mapping. And if you read these, you can see that even though it's a process to get there, at the end, they seem really simple, but they also seem really focused, right? Like I know exactly what I'm going to do. Sarah, anything you want to add on these examples? Some of these you know a lot about.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you find yourself getting a little bit stuck, don't worry. That happens to almost everyone we go through this exercise with. So these are a few examples. If you want to reference this page, it might kind of get the wheels turning again, or you might take a piece of one and a piece of another to really help figure out what resonates best with you. But these are just some examples that we found that really have helped people say, oh gosh, that was it. I was having trouble articulating it, but I was able to pull from these statements. So if you find yourself getting a little bit slowed down by that, feel free to check out that slide too for some examples.
Mm-hmm. And also in your handout, I feel like we've been running a commercial for this handout, Caitlin, the whole time. I hope it's all well intended. We know we're going so fast that, when Sarah and I are doing this as coaches, we might take a series of weeks to cover these questions, thoughtfully address the answers, help bring them together. But we wanted everybody to have the whole process in this one small block of time. So I hope we've done it. But also want to let you know that in the handout, there is a blank purpose map just for you. And it's been designed so that it meets the style preferences of almost anybody. In other words, you can print it out and you can fill in the various quadrants with your different colored pens or any way that you like to do it, or it's designed so that you can type directly into the document. And honestly, we find a lot of our clients really like the ability to have a digital version of the entire map. I'm sort of old school. I like to print things out and handwrite them with my calligraphy or whatever I might use, but more than half of our clients really enjoy typing directly in. So in the handout is a blank map that's called Fillable in Adobe language, and everybody can use that. And by the way, share it with some family members. What an idea it might be the next time you're having family night to talk to your kids about, not in a heavy or confusing way, but in a light way. What is the thing you love most? What do you love doing the most? Or when you're doing it, what do you feel most natural, matches your talents or your gifts? Those easy conversations can plant the seeds for what can later become an adult, fully formed version of what they are literally here to do in the world.
That really is so true. And Marty, I think you said it so well, that often people try and find their purpose by asking others. And really, you said you must discover it inside ourselves. And that's so true. That's something that we talk about quite often, is this inside out mentality. There are lots of courses you can take or books you can read or podcasts you can listen to that offer some knowledge that you're just trying to take from the outside in. These answers have to come from inside of you. It's not anything someone can suggest to you or tell you this is what your purpose is going to be. The answer has to come from inside yourself. So well said, Marty. Thank you for adding that.
And Jim,
and Sarah, Connie put a great comment. Oh, I'm sorry. I know we're about out of time, aren't we, Caleb? I just want to react because Connie, I don't know if there's an award for best comment of the day, but Caitlin, I think Connie gets the trophy. These are awesome comments. I can tell you've done this work before. So Connie asked a really good question. Sarah, please help me answer this in a good way. Once it's created, how do you share it and adapt it into your daily actions? I just make a small comment, and Sarah, I know you have a lot to say on this because this is a lot of the work that you do. The main thing when you develop your purpose statement is to have no idea that in the next 30 days you're going to fulfill it. It's like running a race. Almost everybody starts too fast, and then they get out of breath and they have to really slow down. So instead of that, reflect on the purpose statement, and we recommend to everybody one small action a day is a great way to begin. Every single day, make a note in your journal in the morning. What could I do today that would be one small thing that would represent me working to fulfill my purpose? Just keep it really, really simple. And over the weeks and months, you can build momentum. You can make larger commitments. You can think of bigger things to do. But if you start big, you'll struggle. If you start small, you'll gain a sense of momentum and also winning at this process that you're using.
Yeah, that's so well said. And to echo that too, part of coming back to the purpose statement, this is why it's so critical that that statement becomes as clear and concise as you can possibly make it. If you have 3 sentences, you won't remember it. It's going to be really hard to follow through on. If you can get it down to just a few words, that you remember, that you can recite easily, that's when you'll really start to bring your level of awareness up and find that you are being more intentional in your daily schedule. How am I going to pull these things in today? How am I going to have the impact that I'm hoping to have? So clear, concise, and intentional, just to echo those same words.
Mm-hmm. And Sarah, maybe we add this final thought to Connie's great question. Sharing your purpose map is a very personal thing. Sharing your purpose statement that comes at the end of the map is a very personal thing. And my encouragement would be to be very thoughtful about who you share it with. When you create a statement like this, it's so personal. I mean, you've incorporated all the major drivers of your life into this single statement. And if you share it with a person who doesn't have the same level of understanding or appreciation, you may be vulnerable at that moment to them saying, that doesn't sound very good to me, or why did you come up with that? Or that's not you at all, and who are they to have an opinion about it? It's your personal statement. But I think be very careful about who you share it with to make sure the person you're sharing it with is ready to have that level of connection and vulnerability with you.
Yeah, that's a really great point. And I know we are coming up to the end of today's session, but there were a couple key things that you had said, Jim, in, how great would it be to go through this exercise with family and to think about, the purpose within that unit and talking about the strengths and the talents. That's actually the next component that I hear a lot of people struggle with, is what truly are my natural strengths and talents. And Sarah, you coached that. But then also tomorrow, that's what we're going to continue to discuss as we continue on this challenge. Today, we're setting the stage on what does epic meaning look like with that purpose mapping. Tomorrow, we're going to talk about really starting to create that career avatar. So when we think of avatar, going back to gamification, you can pick an avatar when you're playing games, and then you can give it characteristics and strengths, or perhaps it has its own, and then you work on leveling it up. But here's the thing. Can you clearly and concisely talk about what your natural talents and strengths are? We want to move our purpose towards the activities that inspire and fuel us. So tomorrow we're going to talk about resources to help really narrow down what do those talents and strengths within us and our values, how do those impact our direction towards movement and those actions that we're going to take to work on achieving that epic meaning. And so with that, keep bringing in your comments or any questions. We'll always circle back with you. I'll ask Olivia, my amazing community manager, who's been helping support the chat, pull up the wrap up for today as I just talk about getting ready for tomorrow, same place, same time. But I also mentioned at the start of this that 2 engaged individuals that would be providing commentary and chiming in today would win. So Olivia, who is our first winner today? I think you have that queued up for us. All right, so Connie Santos, Connie K. Santos, thank you so much for all of your contributions and epic commentary in today. We have your gift today is 1 hour free coaching session with Jim Huling. So thank you so much, Jim, for offering that. I'm sure you guys are going to have an amazing conversation. And our second winner today is... the suspense. Okay, Patrick Green, thank you again so much for joining. You will be receiving a copy of this book, Streaking, and it's not the kind of streaking you're thinking. This is actually a gamification concept of intentionally consistently and consecutively taking action to become that better version of you. We're going to talk about this on day 5. So Patrick, look forward to receiving a book on that. And then if you'll advance to the next slide, Olivia, I want to talk about a very special opportunity that I am offering to everyone who is joining this, as well as who are possibly watching the recording tonight, 9 p.m. Eastern. But I'm offering this special offer, $597 to anyone joining today, to my 6-week coaching program. We are just touching the tip of the iceberg when it comes to using gamification to achieve epic personal and professional achievements. And so we're going to dive deep in this 6-week program and go through all the components of this 5-day challenge, but in depth. So that is going to launch on September 7th, and this is your special offer. Go ahead and scan that QR code, and I'll be touching base with you as well. So with that, we're going to say thank you so much for your time today, Jim and Sarah. Thank you for joining and explaining this amazing process to become really clear on where we want to go and feel purposeful. And we'll see you all tomorrow as we talk about creating that career avatar. Thank you so much, everyone.